morning. Welcome back to the Red Mic. Happy Thursday. Man, this week's getting away from me. Thanks for being here. Today's Red Mic message, let's just call it the look, because let's face it, ADHD means we are not nearly as good at listening as we look like we are. What do I mean by that? Well, my wife has a look. It's not angry. Angry would almost be easier. It's that look that says, you have absolutely no idea what I said, do you? And the worst part is, often she is right. Now, to be fair, there is a difference. If I am aware and I know that she is talking to me, I lock into that conversation like a bird on a June bug. I listen intently on purpose. I force myself to pay attention because I know myself well enough to know that if I don't make that conscious switch in the back of my head, my brain is going to go somewhere else. And that's the real issue. It's not that I am often pretending to listen. It's that my mind is doing something else. It's already moving. And I've gotten pretty good over the years at looking like I'm listening. Eye contact, nodding, a well-timed maybe even a thoughtful pause for dramatic effect. But if I'm not intentional, there are plenty of moments where my brain is writing an email, replaying a meeting, thinking about dinner, remembering an old line from Friends or Fletch, or I'm loading up my next sentence before someone even finishes theirs, or maybe even the thought in their head. That's not listening, that's performance. And an old teacher, I think I've mentioned him before, Freeman Johns, great guy, but he had a phrase. He said, "You're hearing me, but you're not listening." And every time he said that, I was like, yeah, okay, I get it. Often we don't listen, we perform. And if we're being honest, a lot of us, even if you don't have ADHD, we do it everywhere, not just at home. Now, I will add one wrinkle to my particular strain of ADHD. I get hyper focused, completely locked in. Here's an example. I'm on the couch or sitting on the bed or whatever, and I'm reading a book and I am really into it, right? Hearing the voices in my head when they talk. I'm seeing the pictures of where they are. My wife can literally be 2, 3 feet away from me, talking to me, and I will not hear a word she says. I'm not half listening. I am completely gone. I'm not just distracted. I am locked and loaded on whatever has my attention. And I'm not ignoring her. My ADHD is. She will have to physically tap me on the shoulder to get my attention and say my name. And when she does, it will usually startle me and I'll, flinch a little bit like somebody fired a starter pistol or something. Thank goodness she knows it's not intentional because, if not, that would be bad for marital harmony. But we've lasted 30 years. I think we're, you know, on the right path. But here's the here's the important stuff. Whether it's distraction, ego, hyper focus, sometimes to the other person it feels the same. It feels like they weren't heard. That's not a comfortable realization because most of the time it's not about intent. It's not because we don't care. It's because we've not learned how to really listen. You got to pay more attention to the conversations where you actually connect with people and not the ones that you missed the point. Listening is not one thing, it has levels. There's a guy named Justin Wright. He pointed this out in a newsletter a while back. The first level is just waiting to talk. You're quiet, but you're only quiet because you're loading your brain chamber for firing off your next point. The other person is talking, but you're already halfway into your response. Your mouth is closed, but your ego is wide open. That is not conversation. That is a hostage situation with good eye contact. The second level is hearing the words. This is where a lot of people are. I think this is what Mr. Johns was talking about. You're catching pieces. You can repeat back the general subject. You know enough to nod in the right places, but your attention is drifting in and out like a bad radio signal. You hear the words, but you miss the weight. You miss the context. The third level, it's understanding the message. You are actually paying attention hard. You're locked in. You're not just hearing the sentence, you're hearing the meaning or understanding. You're tracking what they're trying to tell you, not just waiting for your chance to jump in. And that's where real conversation begins. The fourth level, it's recognizing emotion. You're not just hearing the frustration behind, I'm fine. You're hearing the fatigue behind, I've got it, the fear behind, I'm not sure. That's where you're going to grow trust with these people because people can tell when you are intently listening for more than just facts and context. Then there's a fifth level. That's hearing what's not said. That's catching the pause before the answer, the shift in tone, the subject they keep circling back to, the thing they're trying to say, but they can't quite get out of their mouth, or maybe they're afraid to get it out of their mouth. That listening really, really has the opportunity to change everything. It changes marriages because your spouse stops feeling like they are talking at you and they start feeling like you know them. It changes parenting because kids don't always tell you directly what's wrong. They sometimes leak it out sideways, and you only catch it if you're really paying attention, if you're really there. And of course, it changes leadership because problems almost always whisper before they scream. If your people trust you enough to bring you the whisper, you may never have to deal with the explosion, with it hitting the fan and having it splatter everywhere. And honestly, a lot of people miss that. They think that leadership is mostly about speaking clearly, giving direction, setting vision, delivering feedback, making the call. And all of that matters. But if the people around you don't feel heard, eventually they're going to stop telling the truth. And once that happens, your title may still be on the door, but your leadership is leaking out underneath it. So, how do you get better? First, notice where your mind goes. When somebody's talking to you, ask yourself, am I listening or am I preparing? Because those are not the same things. Second, reflect before you solve. Not every problem is a nail, and you are not always supposed to be a hammer. Sometimes the best answer is not advice, it's sounds like you're frustrated, or what do you need from me right now? Those questions will save a lot of relationships and prevent a lot of leadership failures. Third, watch for what is unsaid. Pay attention to hesitation, repetition, tone, energy, because sometimes things are going to change when a certain topic comes up. What answer came too fast? What subject did they brush past and then come back to later? Because that's where the real conversation, the real understanding, the real back and forth, the real progress happens. The people closest to you will be the first ones to know whether you're getting better at this. You can fake your way through a meeting, you can survive on charm and momentum in a conference room, but at home with your wife, with your kids, with people at work who know your face better than your words, they know. They know when you're present, and they know when you're just doing the nod and uh-huh routine. So, yes, that look my wife gives me from time to time, it's uncomfortable, but it's a gift. It's a mirror. It reminds me that listening is not about just appearing engaged. It's about actually setting yourself aside long enough to receive another person's input fully. So, be aware. And here's your challenge for the day. Pick a conversation, just one. Before you answer, ask yourself, what level am I listening at right now? If the answer is level 1 or 2, don't beat yourself up. Just go deeper. You don't always need to talk to lead better. You don't need to talk to be more engaged. A lot of the time, the most powerful thing you can do is give another human being the feeling that for these few minutes, they are number one right now for you. They were fully heard. And that's today's Red Mike message. Hope you found it interesting. I hope you found it helpful. Hope you're able to put some of these things in place in your own life. That's why I do this. Reminder, usually on Friday, I will do a hashtag Fun Friday, and tomorrow is no exception. Tomorrow, hashtag Fun Friday. I'm going to talk a little bit about getting old and people pointing it out and you pointing it out to yourself too. And hats off to my friend Mark Fox for getting me on this topic. He posted a conversation between himself and his daughter that it's one of those that I actually laughed out loud. I mean, literally LOL. So tomorrow's hashtag Fun Friday. So I love you guys. I'll see you next time. And until next time, don't forget, as always, life is short. Drink the bourbon. I'll see you.